The ultrasound photo trembled in my hands, the glossy paper slick with the sweat from my palms. My sister's voice, bright and bubbly, cut through the chatter of the crowded backyard like a knife. "Isn't she the most perfect little thing? Look at her tiny nose. It's just like yours, Emily. Or wait. No, actually, it's more like Mark's." Sarah laughed, that light, tinkling sound that always made her seem so innocent, so untouchable. But as I stared at the grainy black and white image, the world tilted. The fetus's profile, sharp jaw, high cheekbones, mirrored the man standing beside her, his arm casually draped around her waist. Mark, my husband of 8 years, grinned down at the photo over my shoulder, his breath hot on my neck. "She's going to be a heartbreaker," he murmured, his voice thick with pride. Pride that wasn't for me. In that instant, the pink smoke from the gender reveal cannon still lingering in the air like a mocking fog, fury exploded in my chest, a white-hot blaze that seared through denial and straight into truth. My sister was carrying my husband's child. I forced a smile, lips stretching tight over teeth that wanted to bare in a snarl. The party swirled around us, balloons bobbing in the late afternoon breeze, the scent of grilled burgers mingling with the sweet tang of punch, laughter echoing off the white picket fence of Sarah's suburban dream house. Guests, family, friends, neighbors, clapped and cooed, oblivious to the bomb detonating inside me. "Congratulations," I managed, handing the photo back to Sarah with hands that didn't shake, though every nerve screamed to crush it. Mark squeezed my shoulder, a gesture that once felt loving but now burned like betrayal's brand. "How long? How many lies?" The questions clawed at my throat, but I swallowed them, letting the acid churn in my gut instead. That night, back in our own home, a modest 2-story on the edge of town, with its creaky wooden floors and the faint smell of lavender from the candles I burned to mask the emptiness, I paced the kitchen. Mark had collapsed into bed early, claiming exhaustion from the excitement. Excitement. The word tasted like bile. I poured a glass of wine, the deep red swirling like blood in the dim light from the pendant lamp. My mind replayed the day in excruciating detail. Sarah's glowing face as she sliced into the cake, pink frosting spilling out like a confession. Mark's hand lingering too long on her lower back when he helped her sit. The way she'd leaned into him, her belly brushing his side. I'd seen the signs before, late nights at work, his phone buzzing with texts he dismissed as spam, but I chalked it up to stress, to my own paranoia after our failed attempts at IVF. We'd tried for years, poured thousands into treatments, only for my body to betray us time and again. And now this. Sarah, my little sister, the one I'd protected from bullies in school, the one I'd loaned money to when her art career floundered. She'd taken everything. Anger surged first, raw and unfiltered, making my fists clench until nails bit into palms. How dare she? How dare he? But beneath it, humiliation slithered in, cold and viscous, wrapping around my heart. I imagined the whispers that must already be circulating. Poor Emily, barren and blind. Heartbreak followed, a sharp stab that doubled me over the sink, tears mixing with the wine I spat out. We'd built a life together, Mark and I. Lazy Sundays in bed, whispered dreams of a family. All shattered. Resentment festered as I scrolled through old photos on my phone. Sarah's graduation, where Mark had carried her across the stage in jest. Family vacations where they'd shared inside jokes I never quite got. Had it started then? Or earlier? The obsession took root quietly, a seed in the dark soil of my mind. I needed answers. I needed them to pay. Denial flickered in the early hours, as I lay beside Mark's snoring form, the sheets tangled like lies. Maybe it was a coincidence. Maybe the baby was someone else's, and Mark was just supportive. But doubt crumbled under the weight of evidence I'd ignored. The matching weekends away, the sisterly gifts he'd bought her. By dawn, fantasies bloomed. Vivid, violent visions of confrontation. Me storming into Sarah's house, ultrasound in hand, screaming the truth to our parents. Or subtler, slipping something into her tea, watching her perfect world unravel. No, too rash. I needed control. Planning began in the quiet of my home office, the room where I'd once dreamed of turning it into a nursery. I rifled through Mark's drawers, finding receipts for dinners I hadn't attended, hotel stays in the city. Each scrap fueled the fire, turning resentment into cold resolve. But guilt nipped at the edges. What if I was wrong? What if revenge destroyed me too? Moral conflict warred within. Was I the villain for plotting, or they for the sin? Days blurred into a haze of feigned normalcy. At work, in my cubicle at the marketing firm, the hum of keyboards and fluorescent lights provided cover for my spiraling thoughts. I'd smile at colleagues, discuss campaigns, but inside, scenarios played out like a dark film reel. I researched discreetly on my phone. Divorce lawyers, paternity tests, even anonymous tip lines for scandals. But revenge needed to be personal, poetic. Sarah's art gallery opening was in 2 weeks. She was showcasing pieces inspired by her journey to motherhood. Mark had mentioned helping her set up. Perfect. I'd attend, all supportive smiles, and plant seeds of doubt. Subtle hints to investors about her inspirations. Or tamper with her paints, make her work fail spectacularly. Fear crept in during quiet moments. What if they fought back? What if I lost everything? Family, friends, sanity. But the obsession won, a relentless drumbeat. They took my future, I'd take theirs. I confronted Mark first, not with fury, but with calculated calm. It was a Tuesday evening, rain pattering against the windows like accusatory fingers. He was in the living room, feet up on the coffee table scarred from years of use, scrolling his phone. "Mark," I said, voice steady as I set down a folder of printed receipts. "We need to talk about Sarah." His face paled, the color draining like water from a punctured balloon. "Emily, it's not." He started, but I cut him off. "Don't lie, baby. It's yours, isn't it?" Silence stretched, thick and suffocating, broken only by the tick of the wall clock. He crumpled, head in hands. "It was a mistake. One night, after you and I fought about the IVF, she was there comforting me. It just happened." Liar. The texts dated back months. "And now," pressed, heart hammering, "I love you both. But the baby. I can't abandon her." The word twisted the knife. Humiliation burned anew, but I nodded, feigning understanding. "We'll figure it out," I lied, planting the first seed. Inside, plans crystallized. I'd let him think I forgave, draw them closer, then strike. Sarah was next. I visited her the following afternoon, the air in her house heavy with the scent of fresh-baked cookies. Her attempt at domestic bliss. She waddled to the door, belly protruding like a trophy. Come in, I was just craving company." We sat in her sunlit kitchen, marble counters gleaming under pendant lights. She poured tea, chamomile steam curling up like secrets. "How are you feeling about all this?" I asked, voice laced with faux concern. She beamed. "Over the moon. It's scary being a single mom, but Mark's been so helpful." "Single mom." The lie stung. "He hasn't he?" I murmured, stirring my tea. Her eyes flickered, guilt. Or triumph. "Emily, I need to tell you something." My pulse raced. Was this confession? The baby's name. "I'm thinking Emma after you." Manipulation, pure and sweet. Rage simmered, but I smiled. "That's touching." Inside, doubt warred. Was she innocent in her way, seduced by him? Well, she'd always envied my life. My stability, my marriage. This was theft. As the gallery opening neared, tension built like a storm on the horizon. I volunteered to help set up, arriving early to Sarah's studio. The space smelled of turpentine and canvas, half-finished paintings leaning against walls like accusatory witnesses. Mark was there, hammering frames, sweat beading on his forehead. "Thanks for coming," he said, avoiding my eyes. Sarah hugged me, her belly pressing against mine. A grotesque intimacy. I moved through the motions, hanging pieces, but my mind mapped exits, noted vulnerabilities. One painting caught my eye. Abstract swirls of blue and pink, titled New Beginnings. Inspired by the affair, no doubt. Resentment flared. I'd sabotage it subtly. A loosened nail, a spill of solvent. But guilt tugged. What if the baby suffered? Moral conflict peaked as I imagined the child's innocent face. Was revenge worth damning an unborn soul? Yet obsession pushed. They deserved it. The night before the opening, alone in bed while Mark worked late, I scripted my moves. An anonymous email to gallery patrons, hinting at plagiarism in Sarah's work, traced back to my old designs she'd borrowed. Or confronting them publicly, ultrasound in hand. Fear gripped me. Exposure could ruin me too, label me the bitter sister. But cold resolve hardened. Better broken than betrayed. As sleep evaded, fantasies shifted from violence to precision. Ruin their reputations, their bond, leave them isolated. The slow burn ignited. Tomorrow the first spark. The gallery buzzed with anticipation. String lights casting a warm glow over white walls adorned with Sarah's canvases. The air hummed with murmured conversations, the clink of wine glasses, and the faint jazz melody from hidden speakers. I arrived fashionably late, dressed in a sleek black sheath that hugged my frame like armor, heels clicking on the polished concrete floor. Sarah spotted me first, weaving through the crowd with that pregnant grace, her emerald dress flowing like envy incarnate. "Emily, you made it." She air-kissed my cheeks, the scent of her perfume, jasmine and deceit, cloying. Mark hovered nearby, tuxedo crisp, his smile strained. "Glad you're here," he said, voice low, eyes darting as if expecting an explosion. Little did he know, the fuse was already lit. I circulated, sipping Chardonnay that tasted like vinegar, exchanging pleasantries with patrons. "Stunning work," I told a silver-haired investor, gesturing to New Beginnings. "Sarah's always been so. Inspired by family. Subtle, but the seed planted. Whispers of nepotism, of unoriginality. Inside, emotions churned. Anger at their facade, humiliation at playing the supportive role. But planning had tempered it into resolve. I'd hacked Mark's email earlier, easy with his predictable password, our wedding date, the irony, and found the proof. Love notes, ultrasound shares, plans to leave me after the birth. Heartbreak resurfaced, a dull ache, but I pushed it down. Tonight, revelation. As the crowd thickened, suspense coiled tighter. Sarah took the microphone, spotlight bathing her in ethereal light. "Thank you all for coming. This collection is about rebirth, about embracing the unexpected." Her hand caressed her belly. Mark beamed from the sidelines. I slipped to the back, phone in hand, anonymous app ready. But doubt flickered. Was this justice or jealousy? Guilt whispered of the baby. Innocent collateral. Moral grayness loomed. Revenge might scar me forever. Yet obsession won. I hit send. Emails flew to every contact in her list. Attachments of the affair's evidence, titled, "The Real Inspiration." Chaos erupted slowly, like a pot simmering to boil. Phones buzzed in pockets, faces illuminated by screens. Murmurs grew. Is this true? An affair with her brother-in-law? Sarah's speech faltered, her smile cracking as she noticed the shift. Mark's eyes met mine across the room, widening in horror. He pushed through the crowd toward me, face flushed. "Emily, what have you done?" he hissed, grabbing my arm. The touch ignited fury. I yanked free. What I should have done months ago. Guests stared, the jazz now discordant against the rising whispers. Sarah approached, tears streaking her makeup, hand protectively over her belly. Please. Let's talk privately." Her voice trembled, revealing cracks in her armor. For a moment pity stirred. She wasn't evil, just weak, craving what I had. But resentment drowned it. She'd chosen this. "Talk. Like how you talked to Mark behind my back," I said, loud enough for nearby ears. Gasps rippled. Mark pulled her away, murmuring apologies to patrons, but the damage spread like wildfire. Investors backed out, shaking heads. Friends averted eyes. I watched from the shadows, a cold thrill mixing with guilt. Was this victory? Or had I become the monster? The aftermath unfolded in fragments, a montage of destruction. Sarah's gallery deal collapsed that night, whispers turning to outright scandal. Mark packed a bag the next day, moving in with her temporarily. For the baby. Our home echoed with emptiness. The lavender candles burned out. I filed for divorce, assets frozen, but satisfaction eluded. Obsession morphed into isolation. Friends sided with the victim sister, family torn. Guilt gnawed during sleepless nights. The baby would grow up in chaos because of me. Moral conflict peaked. Had revenge healed or hollowed? Weeks later, as autumn leaves crunched underfoot, I received a call from Sarah. Her voice raw and broken. The stress. I miscarried. Heartbreak hit like a freight train, not for them but for the loss. Was this my fault? Cold resolve fractured into doubt. I'd fantasized justice, but this was tragedy. Fear gripped, karma's backlash. The twist came unannounced on a rainy evening. A knock at my door revealed Mark, drenched and defeated. Emily, it wasn't mine. His words hung heavy as the storm. What? He confessed. Sarah had lied to trap him, the baby, from a one-night stand. He'd discovered post-miscarriage, via a secret paternity test she'd hidden. She used me to hurt you because of jealousy. Our life. Shock numbed me. Betrayal layered upon betrayal. Sarah's motives unveiled. Not love, but resentment toward my perfect existence. The affair was real, but the child a weapon. In that moment, poetic justice twisted. My revenge had exposed her lie, but at the cost of an innocent life. I slammed the door, but the psychological impact lingered. Humiliation faded, replaced by a weary resolve. They'd destroyed each other. I'd merely lit the match. As I poured wine in the silent kitchen, rain lashing windows, I wondered, was I avenged or forever changed? The answer echoed in the empty house. Morally gray but free.